Have you recovered from that 13-try thriller at the weekend?
I didn't play, so yeah, I'm not too bad. No, it's yeah. Obviously, it was a really positive day for us, and to not just the result, but the performance, and yeah, that we feel that sort of performance has been coming for a while, and to do it on the big stage in front of a very good crowd, which was great, was really encouraging for us. Yeah.
Are those the Derby bragging rights that you guys really want, the West Wales one?
Well, I was told it's the biggest game, so look, I'm sure that these things, come around. But we managed to obviously get this one. But sport is very fickle, so we'll enjoy it while we can and move on to the next one as quickly as we can.
What did you say to the guys at half-time to spark that turnaround?
We talked actually more around a few tactical tweaks, really, above anything else. And things that we needed to be better at. It wasn't, a lot of carrot or stick or anything, as people often think there is when they see such a change. It was more around a few little tweaks and do what we said we would do. And as a result, then we started the half really, really well. We sort of grabbed it by the scruff of the neck, and the exciting bit for us as a group was that we didn't relent, and I think that's encouraging for the leadership and the personality of the group that we're trying to nurture.
Great to see George North back out there. That's been a long time coming.
Yeah, no, brilliant for him, and as we've done with other notable long-term injuries before him, to see him back out there was great, and it almost worked out perfectly in relation to, it wasn't a stage thing, so he didn't have to think about it too much. It was right, you're on, we've got an injury, off you go. And I'm sure that plays a part. And once you've taken that first collision, despite what you've done in training, you think, right, okay, yeah, my body's good, and let's go. And he performed well, which is great.
Great to see Dewi Lake impressing. How proud are you of the player he's become, both for club and country?
Yeah, very much, because he's put a lot of effort into it. We put a lot of resources around him to help him get there, and obviously it's been a big year for him, right? So he's come off a massive long-term injury. He's got himself into the Wales setup and got capped, which is great, and he's performed exceptionally well when he's returned here. So that's an exciting thing. That's a win on all counts for everybody. But ultimately, the player has to do it. The player has to own it, and we let their talent decide, and he certainly put his best foot forward for sure.
Gareth Hanscom going well as well. How pleased are you that these big players have come back at this stage, the sort of business end of the season?
Well, I'd like to remember from start to finish, to be fair, if I'm being completely honest about it. But look, competition for places drives things forward, and there's certainly a different edge to what we're doing in the last 4 to 6 weeks, which is great. I'm on record around Gareth, as you talk about. In the position that he plays and what he's been through, there was an element of you've got to play your way back in, right? So he had, he had even longer out than other people, and we're seeing signs of the player that he was, and that's the biggest compliment you can give him. And he'll get better and better. The more he plays, the more he's out there, he'll get better and better, because he'll recognise the cues that, the fine details that make his performance even better. But challenging the line, couple of line breaks, obviously good goal kicker, managing the team, the quarterback of the team. If your 10 plays well, you normally play well. So that's a good sign for us.
Obviously now you guys can't get into the playoffs, no Welsh team in the playoffs. How disappointing is that for Ospreys and Welsh rugby as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it is, obviously, and there's no getting away from that, and everyone's on record about what the solutions are, and at least people are looking forward. A lot of people keep pointing out the facts, but we've got to all come up with the solutions to get, the competitive Welsh region and competitive Wales, and we all understand that we all play a part in that. For us personally, and obviously I can only really talk on that, there'll be mitigation around why that's happened, or that has or hasn't happened, or sort of hasn't happened, and we'll obviously with all things review the elements of our performance to be better. But as you say, there's no secret to, if you get your best players on the pitch, that you're more competitive. So that's the challenge, one of the main challenges that we'll have to overcome.
So you've got the Welsh Shield and the Champions Cup qualification to play for now. How important would those two things be for you guys?
Yeah, I think to have something tangible, at the end, and obviously I'm coming to the end of my second season. It feels like I've been here about 10, but no, my second season, to see the progress and the competitives get rewarded with something material it would be good, and I think it's good for especially the youngsters in the group who have. The one thing about this group, they've been relentless in their energy to try and improve and become the team they want to be. And to get a reward of some description, and whether that's European qualification, is something that we all aspire to do. We want to play at the top table. We want to challenge ourselves against the best. So yeah, there's still a lot to play for. And the great thing about the nature of the result this week is we've put certain things in back in our hands a bit.
Yeah, Dragons this weekend. They've shown that they came down to Llanelli and took a win. They've shown that they're still very competitive despite results not going their way.
Yeah, obviously I know a lot of the people there, and from a coaching point of view, and Dean, always play the Dragons, always competitive, very tough team to play against. Lots of good players, especially from a contact point of view, very strong back rows that contest the ball hard. Yeah, they're always competitive, and you saw that going away to the Scarlets, and the nature of that performance. If they get their tails up, they're really, really tough, and we know that they'll be smarting a bit from last week as well, and Welsh derbies create enough positive tension for everyone to perform well. So irrespective of league position, it's all about their threat versus our threat, and yeah, we know that that's a massive challenge for us this week.
Do you have any injury worries going into the weekend?
Only new injuries, no. Only Matt Prothero, really. He's still HIA, so it looks unlikely that he'll make it in time. But everyone else is okay.
And a word on your new signing that was announced today, Jack Walsh.
Mm-hmm.
He's a very exciting young player. What do you think he can bring to the Ospreys?
Well, again, we talked about the competition for places and the way that the style of play that we want. And we talked about Gareth Anscombe's ability, to do that. Stephen Myler's ability to do that. And we want more pressure on selection, and getting young talent in and developing it is really important to us as a principle or philosophy. And Jack is, an example of that. He's comes from a rugby league background, and a lot of the skill sets we believe that we need are certainly for around that. Rugby league attack to beat rugby league defence is part of the modern game now. He's very knowledgeable and very committed. He does a lot of work off. He's been pestering me for bits and pieces already since involved, because he wants to get up and running. And he's an exciting talent. He's got pace, and you need people that can beat people. So the fact he plays in multiple positions as well, primarily a 10, but played at fullback, played at 12, that also helps you in that strength in depth bit. So yeah, exciting time, and and a welcome addition for sure.
That's great. Thank you, Toby. Good luck this weekend.
You're welcome.
Again.
Toby, as smart it is, my camera has let me down, so just have to put up with my voice today.
Okay, mate.
How do you get your best players onto the pitch? You mentioned that there, amid Wales cause denying you those players for up to 3.5 months each season.
That's probably not a question that I can answer solely. Obviously, from the Welsh variability is what it is. Season structure obviously makes a part of that. The relationships that you have when people are available, that's well communicated. So it's just about season, sort of block overlap. But ultimately, we play a collision sport too, and whether we were unlucky to have your most recognised and decorated players injured for 8 to 12 months, and you obviously, we've spoken about Gareth Anscombe before, George North, Alan Wynne-Jones, Justin Tipperick, Dan Lydia, Dowie Lake. To not have these people makes a dent in anyone's squad. So from that point of view, we are grateful to have them back and fit and creating competition and driving the level of performance forward. But injuries part of this game, unfortunately, where everyone's trying to make the game as safe as possible. Everyone knows that I think the statistic is you're always 23% injured. We happen to be less than that, but for a lot of this year, we've been sort of in 40% injured zone. So it is what it is. It's just unfortunate if you get a lot of high-profile players injured at any one time.
Yeah, and you mentioned you were talking about George last week, and I think it was Hamish asked you, would he be available, did you think, for the summer tour? Did you think he'd make it? And you said, well, we'll see how he pulls up after his first game back. How has he reacted to that match, and how do you assess that question now?
Well, the first thing is obviously we're more confident around, his body and what it can stand up to the rigours of it, because he's obviously fit and available for selection this week. So he's got through the number one thing, which is that. And then obviously it becomes around consistency in performance and influence of the game. So he needs not just to be playing, but playing well. So it's very early to decide whether, how far along that curve he is. He had an influence in the game last week. We hope he has another influence this week. And then people will decide whether he's fit enough or ready to go to South Africa when we get to the end of the season. But we've got a couple of big games still to play, Dragons, and then a couple of weeks to the Bulls. And that's where his focus is now, for sure.
Has his performance in midfield, has that encouraged you to think that perhaps his future may lay there for the Ospreys?
I think, again, going back to your original question about players, and nature of injury, is you want your best players on the pitch. So if you can make that work and maintain an output or your style of play or whatever it means with more of your recognised quality players or people that are delivering or playing well, it doesn't actually mean quality players, it's just people that are performing well, then you're more likely to be successful. That's not rocket science, but that's the facts. And if you look at the performance of Keelan Giles and Alex Cuthbert and George North at the weekend, we've got three people that played exceptionally well, and there's only two wing spots. So getting more quality in different areas of the pitch will only enhance your opportunity to play well.
And Michael actually did well, didn't he, when he went to full-back?
Yeah, I mean, he's played a ridiculous amount of Super Rugby goes at full-back, and he's played in bit parts like George has played bit parts at 13. He's absolutely fine there. He actually, ironically enough, played half the game, I think, last time against the Dragons at full-back. So we're not worried about that. We've got resources in that area. As I said, get good players on the pitch, and normally you perform well.
And you were telling Kerry about Dewi Lake and how he's really come together. What have you actually done with Dewi this year? For all the pieces to fall into place.
Well, we put some specialist coaching in place for him. So Simon Hardy, who has worked with England, Australia, Scotland, various Premiership clubs. I've worked with him twice. He's a friend of mine, a very well recognised coach. We brought him in not just to do him, but the hookers in particular, to work on their individual throwing technique, which, as a coach, an independent coach, often acts as a psychologist for the player, because he's, especially in the position that he plays, which is like a goal kicker, a place of no hiding when that ball has to be thrown in under great competition. So I think that support around him has definitely paid dividends. The consistency in his own practice and the deliberate practice that he's doing individually will make a difference with the other hookers. And ultimately, he's also got 12 months more worth of experience of being around in a program that pushes hard for standards in around the line out. So, and not just line out, in scrums, and there's no substitute for getting down there and getting dirty at scrums. So the feel of it when you're down there. So the nature of those things being sort of all sort of put together are probably the reason that you see the player obviously improve, but ultimately it's his attitude and desire to want to do it and be the very best and force his way into the reckoning for Wales and be the number one hooker here is what's driving the whole thing forward. So everyone plays a part, really.
I've only got two questions left, really. How do you assess the two number 7s who could be playing this weekend? They both in the Wales squad, Jack Morgan and Tane Basham. How do you assess them? Different kinds of players, perhaps?
Yeah. I mean, Tane's obviously a quality player. I mean, he plays in a very competitive position for the Dragons. You know, you look at the lot of the quality they've got in the back row there, and you know they're very hard on the ball. You know, around the breakdown. So, yeah, you can see that he's a quality player. Brings a little bit different. And Jack's been one of our standout performers. So it'll be a good matchup, and one that hopefully that Jack can get the better of. For our sakes, but yeah, we can't underestimate the threat from a back row point of view for the Dragons for sure.
Yeah, last one really. I thought Owen Watkin had a sort of understated game. I thought he was really good last weekend. How important is he to the Ospreys?
Yeah, I think he's a big player, right? He's played a lot of rugby for us, and certainly in my tenure here, I think. Getting him back in the 12 shirt certainly helped that for him. He feels very comfortable there, and having an impact from a carrying point of view, he's got a lot of confidence. He's always been a very, very good defender. He can defend at 13, can play there, but getting an influence on the game from a ball carry, and you saw with his try, is the thing that he likes to do. So there's no surprise for me if you can get players in positions where they get to do the things they like doing and they're good at, which are often the same things. You get good performances, and as you say, you performed very, very well for us on the weekend.
Brilliant, Toby. Thanks very much, and good luck for the weekend.
Thank you very much.